Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back with another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Wednesday, May 23rd, and we are on the European account. Let's see, I need to win 3 games with Druid or Rogue, and win 3 games with Shaman and Warlock. And that is going to be a little bit of a struggle. It's kind of good now looking at this that I decided to skip over to the European account before I did all the daily quests on the Asian account. So start with Druid or Rogue and we'll see what we can do otherwise. Druid, in here we go. Now, unless my Twitter account has a ton of news that leaks out between when I started streaming and when I last looked, I really don't have a ton of news to talk about. For instance, Kimetsu has the Etrian Odyssey X details for Floyd, Enrica, Arten, Linde, and 8 new enemy characters and more. This is a standard Japanese press release of a game where all it's showing is a few more pictures of characters and some descriptions and the name of the character just to build up the hype train. You really have to applaud the Japanese video game media for their ability to take the smallest of details, the smallest of press releases that most Western people would not even instead of waiting until you have actually something substantive to say about the game, they just put out a new press release. And I guess it kind of works. And inherently, I guess it's a better system than them making up stories or causing controversies, which Western video game media and Western media and media in general has problems with.
Time runs out on me.
I would much prefer PC Gamer in particular to write an article talking about a single screenshot than I would prefer them to write a whole week's worth of articles built around the concept of how every esports player is horrible, toxic. PC Gamer actually went for about a month. It felt like talking about toxicity in video games. Moving on though, we have a game called Judge Dredd 95, and it is from a company called Probe Software, and it's being published by a publisher called Throwback Entertainment and Majesco Entertainment. And Majesco Entertainment is a proper publisher of the Blood Rain series, and we've heard about Majesco. So for a brief second there, it felt like this was a Judge Dredd game from that was from probably 1995, but managed to, let's see what I want to do here. Just keep on attacking. What does this one do? Job's done. So what is this from? It's a beat 'em up platformer. It's Judge Dredd. It looks like the Judge Dredd from the Sylvester Stallone movie, not the Dredd movie, which it'd be nice if they made another sequel. You're gonna apprehend Judge Rico and do final battle with the Dark Judges on Dead World. The thing I want to see here is that what was this game originally on? I am suspecting a Sega Genesis. What? So, like, this is a definite nostalgia play. It's a re-release of an old game. Since I'm ahead, I guess I should just do this. Try and win. And then here's another monkey wrench. It has 12 levels up to 30 missions with super bosses at each turn. Lots of secrets and bonuses, so not a super long game. The one review says not recommended. The company that reissued this game on Steam took work from Zoom platform. Jordan Freeman Group, their logo is in the trailer, without paying them, and went ahead and released this game on Steam anyways, and still is not paying them. 100% not cool. By purchasing this game, you're supporting a company that's ripping people off. So somebody's got a beef there. Probably somebody who worked or works for a Zoom platform. What to do? Inherently, I think in these situations you can guess by default the truth of the matter is Majesco licensed this game and owns Judge Dredd 95, and they hired Probe Software to take the software that they had and push it out. It may very well be that this, let's see, this trailer, Jordan Freeman Group, which is in the trailer, was hired to make the game. But that doesn't mean inherently that they are entitled to royalties forever in a contract work.
This jungle hides many secrets.
Now, it may not be the kindest thing in the world, or even a fair thing. As somebody who is super about like being nice to employees, at a certain point, the contract, assuming nothing illegal is happening here, which I seriously doubt something is illegal is happening here, and I'm not going to assume that something is illegal is happening just because of one negative review. I imagine Majesco contracted with this Jordan Freeman Group, told them in that contract straight up how it was going to work, and that they were going to get paid directly for their effort. This one attacks and kills a minion. Summon 2 Murlocs from your deck. I don't even know if I have 2 Murlocs. So, all in all, Judge Dredd 95 is going to get wishlisted on my list. It's not really a game I'd want to cover too much, but there is already a really old Judge Dredd game I'd like to cover, so it would actually work pretty well if I was going to do that, to do at least a small spotlight of it. I don't know what the legality is to this. This, of course, came out June 2nd, 1995, so it is a 1995 game. I guess the best thing you can do is say keep your ears to the ground and see if there really is any kind of controversy here. It would be nice, but this did just come out. It was just released today, or re-released. It'd be nice if the developer came back and said, here's the explanation. The only other thing I guess I could do is see. I could click view discussions And in the Steam interface, that's not even zoomed in. So meanwhile, while I'm doing that, we need to play more Druid and Rogue victories. Let's disenchant all 5 of those cards we just got. And then new. I bet all these cards are actually from some glitch. Like eye for an eye. Yeah, these are cards that I long since had. I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Let's see if we have Naga. Let's see which. No, I don't. Still kind of trying to see the recently nerfed cards. To see if maybe I could turn some of them to dust, but it really wouldn't even be too smart of a move. So let's just keep on playing. How are we on ranked play? We're at rank 20, so... Paladin, I don't believe was one of the ones I needed to play. Druid, Rogue, Shaman, Warlock. Just kind of the 4 least preferred ones to have. So the first discussion for Judge Dredd 95 is what version is this? To the publisher who brought this game, can you please tell me confirm which release? I suspect it's either the DOS or Windows 95 version, but it could also be the Super NES. And the response, yes, this is the DOS version of the game. Thank you. DOS version versus Windows 95 versions often are exactly the same. So, take that also for whatever it's worth. That was my question certainly too, is was this a Super NES game or a let's see. Next discussion is any chance of Steam achievements. I own the original and had a lot of fun with it. And the response is probably not, from another commenter from 5 hours ago, since it's running old code and probably just running on something like DOSBox, which I wouldn't be surprised if it is just running something like DOSBox, but even that. The developer actually said, unfortunately we are not able to do Steam achievements at this time for this title, actually is what it said. And it was the developer that says it was the DOS version, so this really is just a instance. What was this thing? I lost my... Man, I've gotten bad about that. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this developer is just making sure it runs pretty well on DOSBox and then putting it out. I'm pretty sure DOSBox can be used for commercial use because it gets used a lot on Steam. It'd be kind of funny if it turned out that actually every single game that uses DOSBox is not allowed and has never been allowed. Just gonna go and play this.
TC-130 into dislocator.
Hit this, I guess. And then return. And then 4 hours ago there was a discussion that says crickets, hello. And then somebody replied, well, it's not like this is something new or exciting. The game's a re-release of a mediocre shooter that's been out since the 90s. I wonder what version this is. And so, like, that actually was the same person that posted what version it was. And so, since the discussion board only has like 4 hours of discussion on it, it's not, again, not surprising there's nothing there. And then more games like this, Steam's notoriously bad recommendations says play Dota 2 or Counter-Strike or Kingdom Come Deliverance or Conan Exiles or Warframe or Wizard of Legend or PUBG or The Forest or Final Fantasy 14 or Rocket League. Like, none of these games are anywhere close to that, which tells me nobody has seen Judge Dredd, which inherently also tells me that the person complaining about them stealing the work is probably somebody who knew this was coming out earlier and took it upon themselves to complain preemptively. Let's see this.
Time waits for no one.
Yes.
Who are you?
And that.
For the wild.
Moving on, though, that was really a long journey for covering just an old game. A game called Azumate Kawaden for a PS4 launches June 15th in Japan. That's AZUMATEI space KWAIDAN. An indie-made 3D action adventure game. Let's watch the trailer and see what it is. More and more we're seeing more independent Japanese developers, which is not something that the previous generation of people who worked in Japan would have ever thought about. Like, it was so counter the way things were set up for the previous generation that you wouldn't work for somebody else and instead work for yourself. So this is a very nice new thing we're seeing. As for this game, it's a 3D kind of walk around and point and click adventure with a fighting mechanic. You are finding things in places, but every now and then you're getting stopped by ghosts and you're having to kill them too with your staff. Looks like there might even be a big boss fight here. Yeah, this definitely looks like a big boss fight. The graphics definitely don't look great. This looks like even at a cell phone level, a poor quality amount of level of graphics. It feels very much like a Silent Hill 1 type level of graphics and type game. Alone in the Dark is a good reference to make to the original Alone in the Dark game. Not 100% sure if the main character has a staff or a sword. It's coming for the PS4. That's the weirdest part. Is that this must be a digital download for the PS4 because there's no way that this will come about as a disc release. It's just not high enough quality. Azumate Kawaden might be this fictional castle in Japan that I recently heard a story about, where people a rumor was made about a specific castle and that existed in Japan, and as far as anybody can tell, it actually never existed, but the rumor kept growing and growing, and people, eventually started claiming they actually had seen the castle, or they actually know what a castle is, being a haunted castle. Same thing that we'd have in the West, where there's many rumored haunted houses in the United States, and I'm sure around the world. Yeah, it does say it's coming out June 15th via the store for 3,240 yen, which is about 350. If my numbers are right, so even the developers right on the correct line about the value of that, and that is about the right price for a game that looks like this. And for that price, I might be willing to check it out when it comes to PC sometime in 2018. Boy, that would be a long time. Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article. The UK government takes aim at online games in an internet safety strategy response. The United Kingdom is looking to implement a number of new laws that aim to ensure that, in the words of Digital Secretary Matt Hancock, the UK is the safest place in the world to be online. Video games were listed among the many online spaces being scrutinized by the United Kingdom's government ahead of new laws that would aim to make the internet and social media safer for UK citizens. Of course, whenever they say safer, what they really mean is they want to control the flow of information to the point where they can create a even larger nanny state than they already have. Let's see. And give my minions +1, I guess.
For the wild.
Let's end the turn. The government has since released a response to an early investigation green paper outlining the areas online games and other online spaces succeed and or need improvement in regards to online safety. This discussion about online video games starts on page 49 of a 75-page PDF released this week, and notes that the industry has made strides for online safety on its own. The UK trade body for the game industry, UKIE, outlined many of those individual decisions, like increased attention from major game industry console manufacturers on parental controls, ongoing industry-led discussions on how to best handle unsavory behavior in the online games, and commitments to increasing awareness of ratings classification material like the UK's PEGI game rating system. Okay, let's do this.
Beetleberries, my favorite.
Time waits for no one. For the wild.
The government's response letter explains that the governing body plans to work with UKIE and the UK Council for Child Internet Safety to tackle ongoing issues. I hate how it's always contrived that kids are even the major audience that are playing video games, when the clear and scientifically proven every single time is that the average video game player is about 22 years old, and not children. And when all these rating systems, the vast majority of every game is rated M, which would be not children again. But I digress. To tackle ongoing issues such as sexism and build our understanding in relation to how this can be most effectively tackled, examining emerging issues related to augmented reality and other new types of gaming, and considering the evidence relating on how interactive content can support well-being and resilience. So this is just straight up pro censorship. I mean, it comes in a nice little package. It sounds alright in the face of it, but when you start to deal with these people and get to know them, and I am talking these people in the generalist terms as somebody who doesn't know anybody who wrote this response or anything, but I can so easily and so instantly call them these people because I've seen them so often, and it's always the moral panic groups, particularly in the UK. The UK is desperate, completely desperate to control its citizens and create a nanny state. And its US citizens, frankly, all of the people in the UK that would have risen up against oppression did it in the United States 200 plus years ago. And the only people left in the UK are kind of wimps in very broad terms as far as their government. That's probably why Brexit happened, if I'm going to digress, but I'm digressing far too much at that point. Because I'm certainly going to start mixing messages greatly if I'm not careful.
For the wild.
When they mention sexism, what they mean in general is a very wide definition of sexism, and frankly the only sexism that they could try and control is the sexism that would be added by the players, and you can do some of that but not too much. After a certain point, there's just nothing more you can do, and half of the players, half of what other people call sexism, most players call this is just trash talk, banter, and they will die on that hill. Much more than me, because I don't play first-person shooters or multiplayer games. But from what I've seen, which I was rather surprised by, people that play multiplayers want to be able to trash talk and banter and bait the opponent, just in the same way that basketball players, professional basketball players do that, professional football players, and professional soccer players, anybody who does a profession in any kind of sports that has any level of aggression, hockey players most certainly, all engage in banter in at the very least a joking reason. Or a joking way, if not just if not directly mean-spirited ways. And a lot of people who do taunt and banter don't mean it in a mean-spirited way. Also, when they talk about sexism, they're talking about Anita Sarkeesian's perspective on the world, where she's literally said everything is sexism, everything is patriarchy, and it's from people, SJWs, we'll try not to say that phrase too much today, whose only perspective in the world is that that there is always something to complain about, and even when people try to meet them halfway or try to take steps to resolve their issues, they are never happy, they never reward any effort, and it is pointless to try to satisfy audiences like Anita Sarkeesian, because one, she wasn't an audience as far as video games. She wasn't playing video games at all before she got kickstarted and basically tricked people out of their money to develop something completely different than what she was going to. She described it as before. So that is definitely a red flag right there. But even when you take the sexism mention out, it's all built around this assumption that children are not safe playing games, even that were designed for children. And maybe that's slightly true in microtransactions, but that's not even mentioned here. And the PEGI system, I believe, has factors to say no microtransactions in early learning or E for everyone style games. I believe it has that. I could be wrong. Maybe they're not safe because they're saying because people are collecting data on them, but like the new DK, the new protection things from the European Union kind of fixes that, or at least goes a very far way, a rather extreme way to protecting everybody's data. So there's kind of nothing to complain about on that front either. So
Time waits for no one.
So in a similar way, the UK is looking for something to complain about. This is, to me, feels like it is an investigation that will not ever be released unless it finds that there is reason for the government, the UK government, to be more draconian. And that's all the UK government ever wants to do, particularly in these aspects. And has it really helped the UK government to be so draconian? Not really. The UK in the past couple of years has had several major terrorist attacks, even though almost every single street is covered by multiple cameras. That draconian approach, that loss of privacy, that nanny state has not done anything whatsoever. There is just a certain level of unsafety that everyone in the world has to accept, because that's just life. And you cannot legislate away that level of unsafety. You cannot protect against it. Every time you breathe in, you might get a cold or a germ or a virus or bacteria that kills you. That doesn't mean you can stop breathing. And I think that's probably the best place to end that argument. Let's see, we already talked about Manga Gamer moving over to Good Old Games. Although I'm still not sure that they are actually going to remove their games on Steam. I think they're just kind of covering their bases. I guess inherently, though, the one thing I didn't say to do would have been, since Manga Gamer is going over to Good Old Games and we want to support visual novels, go over there and get Sunrider and Mark of Arcadis for free on Good Old Games, and maybe consider purchasing some of Manga Gamer's games on Good Old Games. That way they can get the support. In the same way that Mutiny was 99 cents on Steam, and so you could get the main game and the 2 DLC alternate stories, and even the soundtrack for less than $5. So in the same way that I bought that to support that company, I think similar things should happen here. Let's see. Here's a question. It's been a real long time since I've been on Good Old Gamer. So, yes, Sunrider Mask of Arcadius is free. Add to cart. Check out now. Log in. And two-step authentication. Do I still have the two-step authentication for her Good Old Games? Oh, it's actually a two-step authentication in my email. Alright, well then that won't arrive anytime soon. Let me just check my spam. Hey, look here, I have Square Enix marked as spam. Okay, so yes, I cannot actually log in to Good Old Games right now. I'll have to do that later. Let's see. Do this. And attack.
Time waits for no one.
Moving on. TechRaptor has an article. Nexus Mod tries to solve paid mods, creates a 100k pool to pay modders. Today, a new reward system was announced by the Nexus Mod site owner called Dark One, where mod creators can earn money and rewards for their efforts. The system uses donation points as the backbone, which the final total value represents the amount of money donated by Nexus mods to the donation pool. The donation points are earned each month, with the amount earned based on how many unique downloads your mod has received for that month. So this is kind of a direct equivalent to if you were how many unique page views is your mod bringing in to our website. Now, does Nexus Mods have ads on their website? Or it probably does. In fact, I'm pretty sure it does. So they're giving a small percentage back of the ad revenue that they're getting from ads, I suspect. Right now, 1,000 donation points is equal to $1, and though the mod authors will be given an option besides cashing these for direct monetary rewards, they'll be given other options. While the intent is to have more varied rewards added, currently they just include premium membership and 3 charities in addition to a direct pay out via PayPal. So inherently there's a flaw with this system that they didn't think of. PayPal is getting pressured and specifically does not like for pornographic material sales to happen via them. Half of Nexus mods, if not the majority of Nexus mods, are nude skins for games. And I guess maybe Nexus Mods has a premium membership service that does something. Maybe it makes downloads faster. Before any payouts happen at this stage, there will be a 3-month delay first, so any kinks can be buffed out, while as many mod authors as possible can already prepare by opting in. There is also a problem with people stealing mods, and frankly how much of these mods are inherently unique and original content in the first place, because let's face it, most of them are just modifications, arguably not fair use of modifications of existing copyrighted content. Money and mods have been a sore subject since paid mods debacle happened in 2015. At the very least, this system seems like it is not particularly trying to get the end user to pay for mods. It's just trying to compete against potentially people not making mods in the future on Nexus mods and instead making mods on other paid mod services. So it's trying to stem a potential tide in the future of greedy mod makers. This boils down to an argument I make every now and then about how pointless it is for people to make mods, and they should just make original content. For as much as I rag on MS Paint looking games and in very low effort games on Steam, I'd much prefer somebody make a very low effort game on Steam than make a mod and try to make money that way. At the very least, you're trying to make original content when you make your own game.
For the wild.
Like, even if you are going to make some kind of derivative art based on a pre-existing game, you would still be better off making your own game and spoofing that art than you would just making a slight mod. Mods, to me, also very much in the danger zone of low effort developments. Just not done with any desire or care to do a good job.
For the wild.
Moving on, Gamasutra has an article. EA acquires GameFly's cloud gaming service. So, EA announced that the acquisition of the cloud gaming technology assets and personnel of GameFly today. This will likely open up more possibilities for the company to expand its reach of games through streaming to more players and devices. The acquisition makes sense considering GameFly launched the game streaming services back in 2015 through the Amazon's Fire TV streaming box, which featured a console-like controller with gameplay. The service consisted of packages of games organized by genre and offered unlimited access to 7 titles for a monthly fee. I thought GameFly also had a kind of a tie-in with GameStop, but maybe not. They may just both have game in the name. Let's see.
I don't have enough mana.
Just do this. And this guy is just beating me down. Before GameFly had a streaming service, GameFly acquired the Israel-based streaming startup Playcast Media, where the company launched a pilot program with the Israeli cable network to stream games directly to the US television systems. There's kind of a surprising number of Israeli video game companies. It seems to be a growing system. For all I know, as much as I've said Tencent is a pretty obvious wing of the Chinese government, it's very possible that all these Israeli video game companies are being supported or under control of the Israeli government. Who knows? Like, it's kind of hard to tell. According to the press release announcing this deal, gameplay will join EA's functional team, including the central technology organization that is responsible for developing and operating the platform that powers EA games and services. A lot of EA stuff is like sports games and DLC and microtransactions, so I feel like this is an acquisition to try to support doing more of that.
Beetleberries, my
Should have played that first.
favorite.
Like, if EA was to have a streaming service all by itself, I'm not sure it would sell that well. But actually probably would work rather well for people that just are playing like FIFA and the EA Sports line, and EA is certainly not releasing too many of the new games that people might want to see. Instead, it's Battlefront, Battlefield, a lot of battle games, a lot of first-person shooters. In retrospect, now since I've been overlapped here with difficult victories that are needed, I'm gonna try and play Rogue, and I'm just gonna play casual. And we've gone 45 minutes, and I think what we'll do here is we'll try to stay very consistent about breaking up the recordings at 45 minutes, and then maybe do 4 recordings. I'm surprised it's taken me this long to get through the news, but I am going kind of slow. I prefer to go a little slow. I don't want extra pressure ever in my life, so when I look at my Chrome number of tabs and it's just tiny tab size because there's so many of them open, that certainly does add pressure. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me even further, get me a game on Steam or a gift card on Steam. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.